Now, these photos we're showing you at the moment do capture the moment when a tear gas canister fired by the Israeli army became stuck in the mouth of a Palestinian during a protest at the Gaza border on Friday. We can get the details now from Paula Sleer, our Middle East correspondent in Tel Aviv. Paula, we were just looking at the photos there. Pretty horrific stuff. What exactly happened?
Well, these particularly disturbing photographs emerged after a 23-year-old Palestinian protester by the name of Abu Sabla was hit in the face by a tear gas canister yesterday while protesting along the Israel-Gaza border. The photographs show the moment when the canister is still lodged in his cheek, and you can actually see the tear gas coming out of the canister and at the same time coming out of his mouth. He is currently on life support. That canister had to be surgically removed. Now, Abu Sabla is a regular attendee at the weekly protests that have been happening for more than 2 months along the Israel-Gaza border under the banner, the Great March of Return. And in these more than 2 months of protests, we've seen at least 125 protesters killed and some 13,000 injured. Most of those injuries are due to tear gas inhalation. At the same time, just yesterday, we saw another 4 people killed and 386 injured as thousands of Palestinian protesters again converged along the Israel-Gaza border. They were throwing rocks, they were flying kites and flags, and they were also burning tires against the Israeli soldiers on the other side of the fence. Yesterday's protest coincided with what is known as Jerusalem Day or Al-Quds Day. Now, it marks the last Friday of the holy month of Ramadan, and traditionally around the world there are protests held in Muslim cities and Muslim countries where people show their support for the Palestinian claim on the city of Jerusalem and the right of return. The Israeli Defense Forces has responded by saying that as many as 10,000 protesters converged on the border fence yesterday. It says that they occurred at 5 different locations, and it has also said that people were holding dozens of kites as well as balloons that had explosive devices attached to them that were subsequently hurled in the direction of the soldiers and which exploded mid-air. The IDF has repeatedly justified its use of live fire, saying that it behaves the way that any country would in defending its sovereign borders. It also consistently accuses Hamas of using what it calls human shields by sending civilians to these kind of protests in the first place. But we are also hearing from Doctors Without Borders, and they say that some of the injuries that were caused are so severe that those who are suffering are likely to have lifelong physical disabilities. Take a listen.
Observe very wide injuries. You see the bones completely destroyed with a lot of fragments. You see devascularization, the nerves which are affected. So it means that all the wound is completely exploded. Quite sure that some of them will be disabled, and we are very afraid of the high risk of infection with the bones which are exposed. We know already that in Gaza it will be very difficult to treat these complications.
Now, the Palestinian envoy to the United Nations has criticized yesterday's killings. It has also called for an emergency session of the United Nations General Assembly, saying that it wants to look at a resolution that would condemn the injury to Palestinian civilians in the Gaza Strip. Now, a similar resolution was put forward last week, but that resolution, although it received enough support to pass a vote in the Security Council, it was vetoed by the United States, as was to be expected. The General Assembly meeting was called for on Wednesday, and while we continue to discuss this, tensions here on the ground continue to climb.
OK, thanks for the update there, Paula. That was Paula Sleer in Tel Aviv.